Hey guys, how you doing? So in this video, we're going to be going through fundamentally a brief history of coffee. So hold on to your seats. Let's absolutely get into it. So look, fundamentally, the first thing to know is that the origins of coffee itself can be traced back to the Ethiopian plateau. It was actually discovered to have, believed to have been discovered by goat herders in, I think, the ninth century. And then if we fast forward, the first actual recorded use, because it was the coffee, the coffee cherries, if you will, that were discovered by the goat herders in the ninth century in the Ethiopian plateau. The first recorded use of coffee as a beverage is from the Sufi monasteries of Yemen in the 13th century. So it's not until several hundred years later that coffee as a beverage was actually used and understood. From there, it was actually spread to, from the Middle East, it was spread to the rest of the world. And the first actual coffee house opened in Constantinople in 1554. So we've got the discovery of coffee, ninth century in Ethiopia. We've got the first use of coffee as a beverage in Yemen in the 13th century. And then we've got the spread of coffee from the Middle East to the rest of the world over to Constantinople, where in the 16th century, 1554, we saw the first coffee house. And then as we continue, in the 16th and 17th centuries, coffee actually became a really popular drink in Europe, especially in, surprise, surprise, England, where it was, where it is seen as ultimately a fashionable and sophisticated beverage. Coffee's evolved over the ages in terms of its perception, but it's always been associated with a drink of conversation, communication, and therefore some sophistication. So the first coffee plant itself was actually brought to the Americas, as in North and South America, in around the early 18th century, so talking 1700s. And as you probably also know today, coffee has become a major export for countries in South as well as Central America. And it was in the 19th century, in fact, that it became overall an important commodity in the global economy, with coffee plantations developing in places such as Brazil, Colombia, and so on and so forth, as you've probably seen in coffee shops that you visited, as well as, of course, at the event for Law. And it's now Brazil that's the biggest exporter of coffee in the world. So in the 20th century, it was coffee, as coffee production and consumption continued to grow, you saw the rise of new brewing methods, as well as the rise of coffee chain franchises. So the new brewing methods came along with the invention of espresso machines as well. And today, coffee, is the second most traded commodity in the world after oil. So there you have it. That is, if you will, a whistle-stop tour of the history of coffee.